Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this afternoon's Wealth Creation Show. Today, we're going to look at maximum impact and, in particularly, what Rich Dad taught you, Jim. And at the tail end of the last show, we spoke about, the notes that you took and things that you learned all those years ago when you travelled over to Paris to do the training and things. And your notes, when you look back at them, was quite surprising to you, and then quite relatable to where you are now. And it was a strange thing for you to look back after all these years. So we're going to try and go through some of these things today and bounce back.
That's quite interesting because I've just come back from Paris.
I saw you have actually. I never even thought about that.
And that is the second time I've been to Paris. The first time was about 15 years ago with Keith Cunningham, Rich Dad. This time it was just like enjoyment. Loved it. It's great because I never got a chance to see anything the last time I was there. I was just there for a weekend of intense business workshop and all these different things I needed to find out about myself. Notice I'm saying all these different things I needed to find out about myself. People will be I'm not really sure if they're confused about that. It's like, what do you mean you don't know about yourself? It's like, well, I'm 58, so when you take off 15 and then you say I was 43 and I still didn't know what I was meant to be doing or how I was meant to do it. At that point, we all know I was fairly successful and I was able to retire at 38, which was 5 years before that. But remember, at that time, 2010, that was still the credit crunch.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would say, "Oh, I can't afford to go to this," and it was thousands. And I was like, "No, I can't afford not to go to learn." That's the difference between people who actually seriously want to achieve something great and have greatness. The thought process out of that is if you're not continually learning, you're not continually growing, therefore you're not continually adapting, therefore you won't at some point you will become obsolete in the environment you're in, because the environment you're in will adapt, it will change, and if you don't, you're getting left behind.
Yeah, the interesting thing that I take for what you were just saying there is that you were talking about that you were 43 when you went and done this course, but you retired at 38, and people might think, well, if you retired at 38, what do you need to learn? What do you need to know about yourself, about things, And I'm 38 just now, obviously, and I think the learning part of it is so important because there's so much to learn, not just about your craft or what you do, but about yourself and how you do things and how that could help you exponentially. Because sometimes in my own personal journey, I know where I need to be going and what kind of direction, but sometimes you just don't know how to get there. And learning from other people and things like books and podcasts and all of it is the way to do it. And other people, more successful people.
Can I rephrase that when you said you don't know how to do it? You do know how to do it.
Yeah.
You just don't want to do the uncomfortable things.
Yeah, but the comfort zone thing, yeah, definitely. That's
because often the classic question if you ask someone, it's like if someone says they can't do something, you go, yeah, okay, but if you could do it, how would you do it? And they usually come up with an answer and say, this is how I do it. It's like, well, you knew how to do it, you just didn't want to, you just didn't, because a lot of these, in order to be successful, it's got to be hard work.
Yeah,
it's nothing to do with it. It's maybe working a wee bit of smart with the hard work and making the hard work more efficiently, but the hard work still has to be done. The mountain still has to be climbed. The ocean still has to be rowed or swam, or, well, classic example, look at the ocean. When you think about it, you can get from point to point, a country to a country, an English Channel, you can swim. It'll take you a hell of a long time and a lot of effort. You can get in a rowboat. You can get in a rowboat with other people, make it easier, or you can just get a ferry, or you can get the channel.
Yeah, the tunnel. Yeah.
Or you can get the plane. Which one's going to get you there more quicker and more efficiently? I would say the plane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's going to cost a bit more, but is it worth it if your time is that important? And I would say absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's that process. Everybody everyone knows the answer about what they need to do next in order to achieve what they want to achieve, but not everyone is willing to take that step to do it.
Yeah, to push yourself and outside that comfort zone and do what needs to be done. And that's a big holdback for a lot of people.
Here's a great equation. If you want to write it down, value equals benefits over price. Value equals benefits divided by price. And the value is driven by your perception of what that service or brand is or product is, and the emotional attachment you put to it.
Mm-hmm.
That is so important in everything. And that's how all great salespeople work. It's they know. And instead of walking into someone and telling them, hey, this is everything we do.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting. I was watching Clarkson Farm the other night, the fourth series. It's really funny. He got all the tractors delivered at once. And he said, and because he got all of them delivered at once, he's only got them for a day. He was like, oh my God, I've got to go and review every single tractor and find out which one I need to pick. And it was crazy because every single salesperson there was actually saying to him when they were trying to pitch it to him, when they were sitting with him, they were all talking about the instruments and what the product can do. They weren't talking about what it can end up achieving, what it can end up achieving. They were just talking about the features rather than the benefits. Yeah. And I knew Clarkson, you could see him, he was completely confused about the whole thing. And I thought, you are absolutely wasting your opportunity here. You should be telling them how many fields this is going to plough within a certain amount of time, how much is, what it's going to do, what it's going to tow, what it's going to, everything like that. Know what every button does in the cabin. Mm-hmm. That's just crazy. And these are all things you learn. And believe it or not, it's written right here on my maximum impact notes from 2010. There it goes. There it is. Value equals benefits over price.
You're absolutely right in the tractor thing, because they should really be demonstrating to them what the results they could get from it. And the one that's going to give you the best result is probably the best choice, and then work out how it works later on. All these buttons and everything, you can work that out later. As long as you know you're going to,
definitely. I mean, there's another one here as well, which is it's a mic drop moment for me. It's like here it is. Growth requires failure. You have to fail to grow. Mm-hmm. If you don't fail, you'll never grow, because you'll just keep doing the same thing over and over again. You've got to fail at some point in time in order to understand how to grow better and how to be better at what you do. Anything worth doing is worth doing. What's the phrase? Anything worth doing is worth doing.
Bad.
Poorly.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
But at least you've done it. At least you've tried. At least at least you've put yourself out there and done it. And failure's that big thing that holds people back as well, because they don't put themselves out there or don't do something because they've got the fear of failing. But really, you need to fail in order to think, okay, that doesn't work, so I'll not do that again, to be able to progress and move on and grow. Ultimately, like you say, growth requires failure.
And this is the difference. I mean, anybody's job as a business owner, really, or a leader, is to differentiate you from others. That's it. And it's also the job is to stand next to your competition and be able to get people to switch.
Yeah,
because they know that you're a superior option to them. It's like the swimming, the boat, and because then if everybody thought, well, I'll get there by swimming, they'll all swim. Mm-hmm. So, but why did they choose to take other things? Because they can't swim, they can't do it. And these things are, I mean, they're so obvious like that, but it's the same. It's a great analogy for anything, for growing a business, for differentiating yourself from someone else. Definitely, that's what I think it is.
We recently took part in a training, and it was about obviously leading a team, and that was it was differentiating yourself, but being able to lead the team by, the difference between a team and a group, and delegating, and all these things that you need to master in order to have a functioning team with you at the head of it, and the right balance of, and the respect from the team members to you as the leader, and listening to you, and you know, there's a lot involved in it.
Yeah, people don't do what they want to do, what they need to do. They'll do what they want to do. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. So identifying your product and separating it from your business allows you to differentiate from your competition. So it's not that. I mean, here's a classic example: Gucci.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at Gucci, the product is good, but the business is actually dreams. When you look at Nike, it's about health. It's about running. Ultimately, you know, Nike was renowned for running, weren't they?
Yeah.
So when you look at other brands, what are they? Louis Vuitton isn't it about handbags, and it's not about anything else other than luxury. You know, they occupy. Bernard Arnault is the owner. He occupies the space of luxury. He is the richest man in the world. I think he is.
It's quite an opulent world that he lives in.
Yeah, it's like, but I mean, I mean, for me, it doesn't float my boat at all. But when I was in Paris, I managed to see all these things. You walk down one of these streets and you've got Gucci, you've got Louis Vuitton,
Yeah.
you've got Prada, you've got everything down that whole street just off the main front of the Seine. And that's where all the wealth is meant to be, and that's where people are coming into hotels where I'm like miles up the road. I'm just needing a bed that's comfortable. That's all. I'm not needing. I don't need anything else. See how I talk about need?
Yeah,
Maybe
needs and
want,
wants.
but is it really that important to me to be down there and be beside all that? I mean, that sort of, for me personally, brands like that make me uncomfortable. And because I just think it's not a sign of wealth.
Yeah, because I think brands like that, they do push the narrative that, you know, you need these things, you need these completely overpriced products, when sometimes the quality in things isn't always that great. So yeah, I know.
It's a bag to carry stuff in. You obviously need to convince someone else about your own self-worth if you have to carry about a bag or a brand on you in order to demonstrate to other people. That's who you're trying to convince. You're not convincing yourself. So it makes no difference to me at all. It's like, I don't need to convince anybody I feel great about myself. I don't need to convince anybody I'm healthy. I don't need to convince anybody about anything. I don't need to convince anybody I'm wealthy. I couldn't care less if anybody doesn't think I am. Couldn't care less if anybody doesn't watch this too. It's like, it'll make no difference to me.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But it's the brand thing, and it's such a societal thing that the society pushes it so much. Social media and things, even the platforms we're on right now, it's pushed quite a lot.
Look at Volvo. Volvo owns safety.
Yeah.
Volvo. I mean, my brother's car was a Saab, and almost Volvo and Saab are kind of the same. And it rolled in the driveway one day, and it totaled the wall, and it wasn't a scratch on the car.
The car was fine, and the wall was like
the car was fine. Car was like a Sherman tank, a Saab 99, and it just motored into the wall, and a blooming stone wall this thick. It was huge, and it just motored it right through it when it went down the drive with the handbrake off. I don't know what happened, but that's what happened. And the wall was totaled, but the car was fine. A wee scratch on the bumper. But it just shows you that's the difference.
Yeah, and we're obviously getting into the kind of market and things we were here, but Volvo was always associated with, you know, safety, because it was like the family car, and you know, it would run forever and keep you safe and things. So yeah, and that's what people will, of a certain age. I mean, I always associate that, because I know that maybe younger generation won't with a Volvo, but that's what you do associate with because of the ad campaign that went with it.
Here's a great way to have maximum impact in terms of your business, especially when you look at that and you look at this wee chart here. Here it is here. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Correct. Plan, execute, measure. Correct plan, execute, measure. Correct plan, execute, measure. And that there and here, just above there, actually says consistently. That's all I've done all these years.
So correct plan, execute measure. Correct plan, execute measure.
Execute measure, and make sure, and just keep getting better and better and better and better and better and better. But the key is to do it consistently. That's how you get maximum impact. Execution is all about how.
Yeah. Just as a side, just quickly, obviously we're discussing these things that you learned on this training and things that you've taken through your journey and you're looking back on. Tell us, just for people watching, possibly like who is Rich Dad? What's the story behind Rich Dad? Just, I mean, you don't need to go too into it, but
Oh well, for anybody it's not, Rich Dad Poor Dad is a book by Robert Kiyosaki. But Rich Dad and Robert and Keith Cunningham started at the same time, and they both had this idea about the Rich Dad system. Unfortunately, Keith fell by the wayside because a huge real estate deal that fell apart, and it took him under basically, and he never went on with it, and then Kiyosaki actually went on with it. That was the story. I mean, you can Google it, Keith Cunningham and Robert Kiyosaki, and I will tell you about the stormy relationship after that. And it was like you'll never ever quote me in anything, because it was all about Keith being Rich Dad, because Keith was Rich Dad.
Yeah.
And he was the one that taught him. So it wasn't what the book says. The book's just an analogy of what he was taught by. He's probably his own dad, who was stony broke, Kiyosaki's own dad, and then Keith Cunningham, what he was taught from him, and he just glossed it up. But I'm amazed at the amount of book writers, because I've met quite a lot of them, and I've been on a few courses on book writing, how they encourage you to embellish the truth and set the circumstances up in different ways in order to make it sound better. And then when it comes out, they encourage you to actually say it as if it's true. Like, what? I just can't do that. That's just no me. But that's how you get to the end of films, and it says this is a true story, but some of the things are changed for theatrical adaptation in order to make it good, because no one would really want to hear the real story, because it's probably pretty boring.
So that the zazzed up a bit.
This is who I learned from. And this is what I learned at the time. Joseph McClendon was actually there as well. Now that I realise, because I've got the certificate, and Joseph's signatures on it. You remember Joseph, fitness expert, and all the rest of it, mindset and fitness. So he was there as well, doing an exercise in that. But this was all about getting into for you to get into your mind and actually understand who you are as a person, and how people are connected and disconnected from various different emotions based on maybe historical baggage that you carry with you. This is actually quite a good statement I've got written down here. Who I am as a man has nothing to do with my net worth.
Yeah, that's quite a good one.
That is quite a profound statement, because it's true. Because it's like a lot of people actually put a lot of importance on their net worth, and that defines who they are. It was quite interesting in a recent interview with Silverburn Park. They were doing for their heritage stuff, because that's where I grew up. That's where all my playground was, climbing trees and everything like that. And they were saying, and just start off by who you are, Jim. Now, I used to say, "Oh, I'm an accountant," and all the rest of it. And I says, "No, I'm a father, mentor. I'm a mother sometimes." If you want to be like that, I suppose you get advice, and you don't give advice, and you do give advice to your kids. But I didn't once say what I did. I said actually who I am.
And I think if you did say what you did, or even mentioned like net worth or something, people would maybe look at you differently, because I think that's a really good example.
That just rolled off the tongue. I've never been like that before.
Weird. But I think that's totally true, because I think if people were to look at your net worth, they would assume you were a different person than you actually are, because you're not like what people associate money, and then they think of a person in a certain way. But you're not.
You clearly do. The think about if you've got money, you're going to be driving about in fancy cars, and you're going to be wearing flash stuff, and you're going to have everything.
And you're going to have a certain attitude towards situations.
But most people have been believed that because they watch too much Instagram.
Yeah, too much TV and social media, and
that's how it makes it out to be. And it's not like that. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, Richard Branson walks about in a pair of shorts on Necker Island all day and every day. and he puts on his t-shirt for sitting at the table to eat, but that's it. His t-shirt comes back off, and he just walks about in his shorts all day, and that's all he ever wears. Doesn't wear anything else when he's on his island. He just like walks about in his shorts all day.
And
Now, if
people
you saw
might
somebody
have
like that normally walking about, you'd go, "Who are you?" It's like
some hobo.
aye, who's the hobo? That's what you would be doing.
Yeah.
But because you know who he is, you put value on him.
Mhm.
Because you understand who he is and what he's got to say, and what he can be to you. I think that's what's important as well. Interestingly enough, I had a recent interview in the Courier, and it was out this weekend, in last weekend, the Weekend magazine. And I've not shared it on my page yet, and I deliberately didn't do that because there was a negative comment in the comments in the bottom of the Courier article, and I thought, I'm going to wait to see if this builds up to other people saying negative comments. And then I'm going to share it, and I'm going to share it for the purpose that the interview with me about Richard on Necker Island was not me telling any secrets you shouldn't know already, because it's all laid bare in his books.
Yeah.
All I'm doing is telling people what my personal experience was with Richard. That's it. And I think it's entitled An Unlikely Friendship.
Yeah.
Because it's like, for me, honestly, I actually expected this to happen. Because
Manifest.
it's going to be one of my goals since I was about 16. So for me, it was, and it's the same with Jamie Siminoff of Ring.com. Jamie said the same thing as well when I spoke to him about this. And Jamie said, "Yeah, Richard was my idol. Richard was the person I always wanted to be."
Sorry guys, technical issue there. So yeah, and Jim was talking about the impact of obviously meeting people like his idol, who is Richard Branson, and kind of manifesting that, and speaking to other people that were there at the time who had the same vision of that. But then it's amazing what Jim refers to as somebody that's really highly successful, but doesn't portray themselves in a way that possibly social media and other platforms and things push these people who, if somebody's got a lot of net worth, how they are and how they react, and the person that they really are. And I think you could blur the lines of actually reality when you let the social media realm take over your thought process and sometimes influence exactly who you are as well. And these are all things that you learn through speaking to people a lot more successful than you, and people that have, made the mistakes, made the failures, and learned from them. And as we spoke about, growth requires failure, and that's something that he learned when he was on the training for Rich Dad. And it's thinking about the things that are holding you back. And failure is such a big thing that can hold people back because of the fear of failing. But ultimately, that failure is how you will learn, and it will allow you to then pass it on to other people, the failures that you've had, and guide people on how to do certain things, depending on what kind of line of work you're in. If you make failures in that, then they could learn from you, just like Jim shares his experience and we learn from that. And these are the kind of things, obviously, being a fear of that failure is a thing that holds you back. And hiding away as well from things that, not taking responsibility for things. I mean, if you're in a leadership role, or you're trying to run a business, and it's easy to hide away from your responsibility to push that forward and make it a success. And these are all things where you probably will ultimately at times have failures, but in order to grow, you do need them. So growth requires failure, and then when we talk about the failures and things, the next thing that I had on my notes, Jim, from what you were learning from Rich Dad, was communication. And you had said that you always used to kind of sometimes hide away. You used to have, you had an office that you used to work in, you used to hide away in Carly House, and not making enough phone calls and not interacting with people and things as well. And that was something that you felt held you back for a time until you realised I need to be speaking to a lot of people. I need to be making a lot of calls. I need to be putting myself in situations where I'm interacting with like-minded people and people that are going to help you progress in your journey for success.
Yeah, this is a lot to do with. I think this is generally a lot to do with the fact that I'm a very introvert person. And God, really, it's like, but I am a very introvert person, and because I built my property and I'd done it all on my own with a few people round about me, and I was able to retire. It was like I didn't see the need for anybody else to get involved or do anything different. But I wasn't going any higher in terms of what I wanted to achieve, and I just couldn't break through that ceiling. And that was what the workshop was all about. It was that. And the reason I knew about Keith Cunningham was because I think we both went to the same Unleash the Power Within event with Tony Robbins or a leadership event in London, and I signed up to Keith's course to go to Paris, and it was a real awakening. And I really mean, because it was like it was putting me through the paces, real uncomfortableness, and then facing up to my weaknesses. Because I always used to say to everybody, "You got any weaknesses?" Well, no, I've not got any at all. Maybe the fact I've not got weaknesses is a weakness. I don't know. But I used to never acknowledge the fact that I might not be as good in certain areas as I think I am. I always used to have that opinion. I was shit hot at everything, and I am. That's it. As far as I'm concerned, I am. But that's nothing to do with the fact that what I'll say to anybody. That's nothing to do with anybody. Anybody else knows I say that tongue in cheek sometimes. But the reason I have that is because if you've not got a healthy self-image of yourself, you're done for.
If you've not got that element of self-confidence, then you need that.
Yeah, and I dare say, if you've not got that element of arrogance about you as well, that you'll never make it. And there's some people that are really arrogant, are self-confident and arrogant, rub me up the wrong way, so I don't do business with them. But it's like, they're like, so what? I'll do business with the people that do like me. And I'm kind of the same process. It's like, so what? I'll do business with the people that... If you could do business with 1,000 people, and each of these 1,000 people as a lifetime customer to you was worth, say, for example, I think it's something like, I'm sure it was £40,000 times 1,000. That's effectively 40 million income in a lifetime. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you could do $1 million every year for 40 years with just 1,000 people. Do I need to speak to anyone else? That's it.
Yeah.
And that's, I get that a lot, and we get pitched a lot by in our estate of business by, oh, we could get you more leads, we can do this for that, and we could do that for you. And I'm like, well, I don't want any more leads. What do you mean? It's, well, I'm only want to deal with 200 to 250 people a year. Yeah, okay. If I want to expand, I'll go into Edinburgh, Dundee, and Glasgow, like we're looking at now. And I'll do the same there. But I only need 200, 250, 300 fans a year to sell with me, to sell with the company, and people to let with as well. And it's like, there's 170,000 households in Fife. There's about 350,000 people. I only need 250 people. I don't need to get on with everybody, and not everybody needs to like me to do that.
No, and people might think, well, why don't you want more leads, and why don't you want more people? But you're saying, obviously, the 250, that enables you to keep the business running and be able to give back and into the community and charities and things. And that's one of the core values as a company.
Yeah, I don't want to be a volume agent. I don't want to be like everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm honest about that. Do not want to be like anybody else. I am me, and the people I work with are probably a representation of how I am as well. And that's why they continue to work with me, because they're like that as well. And I attract that type of person. It's like me, or they think it's like me. That's it. I'm not bothered about everybody else. Now, if you see most of the successful people in the world, Bezos, I'm not going to include Branson there. You know, everybody just likes him. I've never yet met anybody that hates him. I've never met anybody that says anything bad about him. He's about the only person I ever know.
Yeah, to be fair, I've never read or
that
seen or
no
heard
one
any
said
bad.
anything bad about him ever. It's like, oh my God, you must have a special, I don't know what it is. You must have that specialness about you. There must be something about you. It just makes you likable all the time.
Which is a very,
But
very
if you look
trait
at Musk, if you look at Bezos, if you look at Trump, they've all got their own fans, haven't they? And they're raving fans, some fanatical fans as well. And that, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Musk, for example, but I tell you what, I'll go in and bloody defend him if anything says something wrong against him. Like, wait a minute, this is a guy that's taken SpaceX and space exploration to a different level completely. No one would ever have taken that risk, or they would have done it by now.
I think there's a difference between, you don't need to like somebody, but you could respect them for what they've
Yeah,
done. And
of course. Tony Benn's another one, the Labour politician. Tony Benn was staunch about what he wanted, about what he had, and he stuck to his guns all the way. And he was so moral, and he was so right about what he wanted. He was so passionate about it as well. And that's what I respect so much about Tony Benn. I never agreed with most of the things, but I did agree with most of the things that he probably never ever discussed, because he would only want to discuss the things that were controversial for society to accept. And he was I would say that he was a great leader. And I actually thought Hillary Benn would be the next Labour leader, and disappeared into the ether. Quite surprising.
Yeah. What I've noticed as well, when you spoke about, like, you'll always notice that very successful people and people in positions of like high power, like Trump and all the rest of it, they've all got that element of arrogance about them, but they've achieved so much, so they've got that respect, and they do obviously have. I mean, that arrogance, some people like it, depending on who your target audience is and who your fans are. But you'll always have some people who won't like you and think you're arrogant. But hey, I think it's part. I think it's part of anybody's success in whatever realm you're in, or whatever sector you're in.
Yeah. So there's all really good things, and you can learn from these people. Here's another really good classic: read 2 to 3 books a week. Some people read 2 to 3 books a week. I read 2 to 3 books, every 3 months or something. I read about a book a month. That's about it, because I'm pretty intense on taking all the detail and information in over time. I almost get to the point where it's like photographic. I can then recite the book almost in my head because I can see it. That tends to be me. But you don't read to get a new plan. I'll say that again. You don't actually read the right books to get a new plan. You read to get a new distinction on things, a new perspective as well.
Yeah.
To help you improve your game, whatever it is you're doing. And that game could be property investment, that game could be estates, it could be letting agency, it could be ceramics, it could be a diamond merchant, a gold merchant, it could be crypto, it could be anything. It could be manufacturing. It could be anything, your game. It could be doing nothing. You read to get a new perspective on doing nothing.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody does nothing, to be honest, but some people waste their time and some people use it effectively. I think that's what it's all about, really. And that's why you read and you learn from other people. That's why you watch podcasts. That's why you listen to podcasts. That's why you listen to podcasts as well. And you read all that information, and you learn from different people and different areas. I mean, the one I'm learning from now is a Shaolin monk.
Right. Okay.
And it's like, what?
But are you learning something from it then?
Of course.
Yeah.
Because most of that information won't go in, but you'll learn, and then you'll hear it from someone else, and you'll go, oh, now they're saying it, and then you hear it from someone else. This is why when I stand up, I'm at the PIN meeting in June, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, sorry. So I'm at the PIN meeting in Glasgow, and I say to most people when I start off, I says, look, don't let what I say put you off. This is just my opinion. You don't need to listen to a word I've said. You don't need to take it on board. You don't need to believe what I say. It will make no difference to my life, whatever you do with this information. If you don't like me, come back next month. There's probably a better speaker next month.
Mm-hmm.
Because
it's not about getting everybody.
For some people, they write it off after one time.
But it's not about getting everyone to like you. It's about sharing your knowledge and your experience, and hopefully people pick that up and learn from it, and it helps them, and saves them time from making the same mistakes that other people that have already trodden that path making.
Here's a great quote, and I've often said it before: business should be boring.
Yeah, because everybody chases it. Everybody wants the excitement, especially in buy-to-let investment and things. People, and it shouldn't be all go and excitement all the time. The boring part is the part that actually.
What do I mean by that? Well, the most successful people in the world, you'll observe, are getting rich doing the same thing. I'll say that again. The most successful people in the world are getting rich doing the same thing. But what they're doing is they're doing it better than everybody else.
Yeah, that's a good point. Rather than jumping from thing to thing and trying to perfect it each time.
Doing the same thing, but they're doing it better than everybody else. Look at all the different airlines. They're all flying from A to B. But one's better than the other.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a preference. Look at the baristas, the coffee shops. We've all got our favourite. And you know why? Because they're doing it better than everybody else. In your opinion. We've all got opinions, you see? And so if you're bored, though, you've got to remember you're not growing really if you're bored. The whole point of me saying their business is boring because they're getting rich doing the same thing over and over again, but they're not boring in the aspect of they're innovating each time. When they've got it right, it's the feedback loop that I just discussed before. It's that measure,
and possibly
try out, measure, 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 consistently, in order to get that right impact in terms of what you're doing.
Yeah, and the feedback thing's important because it allows you to maybe consider tweaking things slightly as you go, but not making any major changes. And it also brings me to talk about distractions and how people can be easily distracted off to something else, and that's where you break your consistency with the thing that you should really be trying to perfect, rather than, oh, I'll try this now, I'll try this now.
This is on the same lines that what I'm about to say, actually. And again, this is some of the information. Bored, if you're bored, your business probably isn't growing. If you're bored, personally, growth is one of the mothers of passion. Passion is everything. If you're not passionate about what you do, you shouldn't be there, because it's just a job. When somebody's needing help, if you're not passionate, you'll not help them. You'll not make an effort to do it because you're not that passionate about it. And here's the phrase that pays: grow what you've got instead of switching.
Yeah.
I'm going to do holiday lets. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do student lets. I'm going to do conversions. It's like, holy shit, just stick to the same thing. You're doing it well. It's like, because they get success in that. I've done it. Remember, I've done it. When I left manufacturing and I had my property investment, I started to diverse. I started to do other things, and it started to all go differently and fall apart and pear-shaped and all the rest of it. Because it was like, there's no traction in that. Yeah. There's no traction.
That was going to be one of my questions to you. Do you know, through your journey, was there shiny pennies that pulled you off track, and how did you bring yourself back and thought, no, this is what I need to be doing?
Yeah. Here's another phrase that's great. Most people have an affair on their business when they're not growing. And they will often do something else.
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
That is a good one.
That is a real good analogy of what happens. They run their business, and when they get bored with it, they go and have an affair with another business.
Yeah.
And it's that thing. Rely on what has worked in the past for as long as you can remember, and you'll get to a ceiling of complexity. And it's experience that will get you there, and sheer determination will get you to that ceiling of complexity. But in order to break through that, you've got to learn from other people, and you've got to grow as well as a result of doing that. And it's not about jumping ship to the next best thing. It's about doing some. It's about seeing the next opportunity. It adds value to what you're in just now, and not try. So, for example, and on a stage of the business, you'd naturally, okay, let's have a lettings business because that complements it. Okay, let's bring in mortgage business as well because that complements it as well. Okay, let's bring in sourcing. Let's bring in property investment. All these different things are complementary. It's not, oh, I'm going to start a travel agency. What? You're going to what? You're an expert in the property investment field. You're a master when it comes to estate agency, and you're going to go and start a travel agency. You're off your bloody head.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, but to some people that are bored and they want to have an affair on their existing business, then that's what they do. Kind of like people that do other things and are detrimental to their existing employer. Possibly, they have an affair on their job. They go and do something else which is contrary to what they do. So they're doing something else, and then they come to their work and they don't do as much because they're tired because they've been doing something else.
Yeah.
And yet their work is the one that looks after their living, their day-to-day living. And that's where you should be given most of that commitment. Your lifestyle is built with your passion outside of that, by the way. And it's no about letting your employer down. It's about being the best that you can be, and you'll make damn sure that you're the best that you can be in everything else as well. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Sorry, what was it? Say that again. How you do
anything is how you do everything.
Everything, right?
So how you do how you do everything is how you do anything.
Yeah, I suppose you could flip it the other way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can't be the number one in somewhere else, but actually be piss poor in another area. It's like that can't be possible. It's like the people who say, "Oh, I'm going to separate my social life and my business life or my job life," and it's like neither the twain shall meet. And it's like, you're just going to be working for the rest of your life. Then I take it.
Yeah,
because if you're not going to put any effort in outside of that, you're going to get the results that everybody else has got, and that's probably been broke at a different level when you retire.
Trying to actually separate. I mean, if you're an integral part of a business and things, trying to actually separate your social life and your work life, it's a bit of an effort in itself. And it's like, why even give yourself the extra? Just this is who you are. This is what you do, and it's part of who you are. And it should really be, I suppose, if you're an integral part of a business or your own business, even. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So these are all the things, and when you're doing stuff like that, it's just the ordinary things that are consistently done will produce the extraordinary results.
Mm-hmm.
And significant growth as well will always happen after a crisis.
Yeah, things sometimes need to fall apart to build back up. Yeah,
that's how people oh my God, this happened, and then we adapted and we changed, and then here we are now,
and it's better than it ever was.
like 30 years later. Sony, I always liked Sony because it's like they started off making rice cookers.
Yeah, I didn't know that. You told me that, rice cookers. I thought that was crazy.
Yeah. It's like rice cookers. That's it. That's all they produced. And then so now they're one of the biggest technological companies in the world. And they got the PlayStation.
Yeah, that just took it to another level. The PlayStation.
It's taking it to a different level. So most people. So if you're in a niche or something and broaden, you broaden your horizon and you'll start to grow. But you broaden your horizon, I would say, either horizontally or vertically in the same sort of area. Into things. Most people broaden instead of deepening, so they get a bit and the mud pile doesn't do anything for you. So because then you just make it worse and worse and worse, and you pull yourself down by just doing all different things all at the same time. Are completely unconnected to each other. Oh, I'm in crypto.
Yeah.
I'm in currency trading. Oh, I'm in property investment. Oh, I've got. It's like these people that turn up and say, "Oh, I've got multiple streams of income, and I'm in this, and I'm in that, and I'm in." Oh my god, it's like flipping.
Like you say, and it's piling all these things, and like you say, one big mud pile, and it's quite a lot. Rather than concentrating.
Do you know what I call that?
And
multiple streams of income. You have got another job.
You've got a very busy time in front of you.
That's it. That's what multiple streams of income are. You've got a job. You've just inherited. You've just manufactured a job for yourself, having multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
Because none of them are going to be passive.
Yeah.
None of them are truly passive. Nothing is ever truly passive unless you put your money in the bank and just sit and do nothing and just take the interest every month. That's passive. But property investment is not really passive. You still have to put a wee bit of effort into it now and again, like I do, like an hour a week at the very most. Most of my dilemma is working out my tax efficiently.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
and we've managed to do that, and we've got the transition of all the properties transferred into limited companies now. We've paid our tax bill, £178,000 in capital gains tax. It's like I paid it. I've paid it. It's like, but then you got to think about how much do you have to earn to pay that amount of tax. But that's only, think about it. That's only one tax bill. Still got income tax, corporation tax, and all the rest of it to go on top of that. So I could be paying something like 300,000 this year in tax.
Which sounds crazy, and it will to some people, but in the bigger picture, it's
I know you just got to make it as tax efficient as possible. I think
tax efficiency. Do you know what I was wanting to cover? Well, I wanted to cover with you and kind of round up a wee bit today. But thinking time is something that you've incorporated in what you do a lot now, Jim. Thinking time and taking that wee bit of time for breaks, and something that you never done before, and wished that you had known about earlier on to think about things and take time to plan a wee bit more. You were always Monte Carlo or bust in the early years and things. I always mind you saying that. So, which is probably a good thing, because, like you say, you wouldn't change it because you are where you are and you're happy where you are.
Yeah, well, just like a rocket when it takes off, you've got to do some things like that in the very beginning. But then you get to a point where then when you think about it, I probably should have had thinking time in there if I'd known this earlier. But that's one of the greatest things I learned from Keith Cunningham. It's like, I put thinking time in my diary, and it's like, what? You what? She's got to put time to think. Just sit and do nothing or read a book. A book on business, or a book on the Shaolin monks or something like that. It's watch a podcast. That's what I take time out to do, because I know it's going to help me grow. What's gotten you stuck is the fact that you've been successful in the past at what you're doing, and you don't want it. You're not prepared to change it. So that's why you're stuck where you are. And when you get into that niche, it'll probably kill your experimentation.
Yeah, because you'll have the fear of changing things, and it's like, though, don't try and fix something if it's not broken, but you could always improve something that already works. But you just need to make sure you're implementing the right things.
Here's the phrase that pays. If you want to listen to this, anybody that's listening and tuning in, pen and paper, write it down. What's required to take you to the next stage is an entirely different set of rules.
Okay.
What's got you here will not get you there.
That's kind of like the rocket ship thing and the boosters. You've got these things that have got you to a certain point, but you need something different to get you to the next stage.
Absolutely. That's what the fundamental difference is overall in this. I think it's really about it's about it comes back to the Matthew McConaughey thing, doesn't it? It's like, who do you want to be in 10 years? Well, I imagine I want to be me in 10 years, but I want to be a better version of me. And what does that better version look like? And he defines what that better version of him looks like. And then he says, okay, so what do I need to do now in order to be that better person in 10 years' time? Because I don't just turn up and I'm going to be the better person because 10 years' time it says that's the better person I'm going to be. And all of a sudden, overnight, I'm going to change. It's like, because if you say, I'm going to be buff, when you think about it, it's like, if you're Mr. Puniverse, you're not going to be buff when you turn up in 10 years' time and go, I'm going to be buff in 10 years' time. I'm not going to do any training though. I'm just going to turn up in 10 years' time and I'm going to be buff. It's like, you're not going to be.
No,
because you're Mr. Puniverse right now and that's not going to change. So what you're going to do, I'm going to have to work out every single day, or I'm going to have to plan when I work out.
Yeah.
You look at The Rock, look at his original films 20 years ago, and then look at him now in his current films, and he's like, flipping heck.
Even if you look at him, obviously, originally in the wrestling and things, and it's like the difference, yeah.
And it's like, is that the same guy? And because he goes to the gym and pumps iron all the time,
he's done
it. That's why he gets to that stage where he's like that, and that's why he will continue to do that. And that's how you get people like that, and that's how they exceed, because they know they have to keep doing it to be that better version later on, to achieve their goals overall. Because they'll never achieve their goals if they don't. So in order to be that person you want to be in 5 or 10 years' time, you have to define what you need to do now in order to be that person, in order to be that size of business, in order to be that that size of income, in order to be that all these different things that come with it. And then it's like, okay, I've got to do that. Then okay, not going to be able to do all that myself, so I'm going to have to employ people. Okay, so how am I going to do that? I'm going to have to bring an outside source in to help me employ and to build and scale in order to do that, in order to hit that turnover target, in order to be that business I want to be in 10 years, 5 years, 10 years time. That's the simple fact. You ain't going to do it all yourself unless you devise a formula where you're worth significantly more.
Yeah, well, that brings me to, and I was going to ask you and to kind of explain maybe to us that you'd said previously about this paradox. So it's all about me and not about me. And I was quite intrigued with that, and I kind of wanted you just to.
Well, it is all about me, but it isn't all about me really, because it's about me. But it's about me to get me right.
Yeah.
But if I get me right, then it's also about other people. I mean, imagine if everybody just focused on themselves and didn't volunteer their unwanted opinions on other people. Imagine if they just focused on themselves and actually just did that right throughout the world, right through society. Do you think it'd be a better society?
I don't know. I would want to say yes, but then I think
would say it'd be like night and day.
Yeah.
Because everybody focused on themselves for it. I mean, focus on being the better version of them.
All right, okay.
I don't mean focus on being insular and selfish. What I mean is just being the better person of themselves. So in other words, a person focuses on themselves is what we would call selfish. In that sense, would be the better version of them would be to be selfless.
Selfless, yeah.
Instead of selfish. So a bit less fish. That's the sort of thing. So to be a better version of themselves, and once you become a better version of yourself, once you work towards becoming a better version of yourself, you radiate a different. Your base of the light begins to shine, and you unconsciously give other people permission for their light to shine as well. Where did I get that? Coach Carter.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. You were made and put on this earth for you to be glorious and shine and be that person in order to inspire other people to be the better version of themselves as well.
What I feel this session and a lot of other sessions and things we talk about is quite apparent. And I think if you want to be successful in any field and whatever you do, I think the true key is to actually learn about yourself and the person that you are, and how you react to things. What's your, do you know, what pushes you forward? What gets you, do you know, what gets you fired up? What holds you back? Do you know all these things about, if you want to be a successful person, you need to realize the person that you actually are, and what's your triggers, and what's your, do you know, what's your things that boost you and push you forward? Because a lot of people think they know themselves, and the reality is you don't.
See, once you get that clarity, that's what gives you power.
Mm-hmm.
So once you understand the person you are, that empowers you to either be that better person or to change to be a better person. It's we tend not to really think that much. This is a whole thing. Clarity equals power. We could talk about this next week, actually. Yeah. Clarity equals power. I've got a huge amount of information about this. Clarity
Right,
power.
okay.
So clarity equals power, and that would be a real good one. But I'll give you a wee taster for this. We tend not to think. We tend just to come up with solutions and answers on the fly. That's what happens to most people in their life. And that's what we can talk about next week. Clarity equals power, and what that really means. And that's a bit an introduction into it as well. And most of people's problems are just an unanswered question.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to talk about things about hiring and competition and how it's essential, and probably the 7 rules of delegation as well involved in that. Because a lot of people don't understand what delegation is all about. A lot of people don't understand what delegation is for and why you want to delegate, but also what it really means. People, myself included, years ago, I used to think delegation was abdication. In other words, give it to someone and just leave them to get on with it, and never oversee them, and never make sure they do it correctly. Just let them get on with it and turn up 5 years later and say, how did it go? That's abdication. That's not delegation.
People assume that delegation is, right, you do this and leave them to get on with it, and that's not delegating. That's just giving somebody an order.
Yeah.
There's a big
You're leaving them high and dry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So that'll be a really interesting topic for us to go through. Clarity equals power, and we'll go through that next week. In terms of this week, obviously maximum impact. A lot of interesting points there about what Rich Dad taught you, Jim, and all your notes there. It's really good to go back over them, and hopefully everybody found that quite useful. You can obviously look up Keith Cunningham and Robert Kiyosaki, who are
Keith Cunningham, Keys to the Vault.
Keys to the Vault, okay. Yeah.
Keys to the Vault is one of his books, which is a really good book I actually read. And I've got another one of his books as well. But Keith Cunningham and Robert Kiyosaki, most people know him as the Rich Dad. They call him Rich Dad. Well, he is Rich Dad now, when you think about it. He's Rich Dad, probably selling courses about being Rich Dad. That's so he's been.
But actually, Keith's Rich Dad.
Yeah, about Keith being the Rich Dad. Aye, okay. It's like an episode of EastEnders.
Yeah. Right, okay. Right, we'll wrap up there. That was really good. Thanks for all that, Jim. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. If you're watching the reruns, jump in the comments. We'll come back to you. And we'll be back next week, and we are going to talk about clarity equals power by the looks of it. So we will catch you then. So see you later, guys.